In this lesson, we'll be going into some more detail about the various things you can find using Google hacking techniques. While Google hacking techniques are really useful for just general searching in Google, they're also really useful for penetration testers or ethical hackers. You can narrow down information that you get from Google so you get a specific list of systems that may be vulnerable. So we can do things like look for error pages. If I do in title error, I'm going to get a whole bunch of information here, various documentation pages about different vendors and the errors that they support. So here's one, for example, at docs.oracle.com about a Java error. But if you know something more specific, we may be able to get errors here about MySQL. And again, you're going to get a lot of forums and documentation pages unless you do something like -forum or -manual. And the minus says, leave these things out of my responses that you show me. So we can get into a lot of detail here about the types of things that we're looking for. And it can take a lot of work to actually get the specific pages that you're looking for after you've narrowed down all of the extraneous information from things like documentation and forums and discussions and that sort of thing. We can look for things like version numbers. For example, you may be able to get Apache servers that are running some version of 2. And again, we're getting a lot of documentation pages. And we can narrow down that focus a little bit more with various other queries. Sometimes you can get information about people's systems. We're going to look for directory listings, which is why I look for index of. And I'm going to look for a bash history file. And bash history will show a list of commands that somebody has been running. So here's a page right here, and here's the bash history. So we can look at another page here, and you can see there's a number of them where people have given their file listings to their web server and made them available for whatever reason. Sometimes they don't realize they're doing it. Sometimes it's for specific purposes. But you can get all sorts of information about things that people may not actually want you to see. We can also look for things like specific servers. So we can look for powered by shout stats, and then we're going to look for the words hourly and daily, and that will give us pages where statistics from Shoutcast servers are available. And we may want to do something like drop off Google so that we avoid places where it references Google hacking. So here's a page right here for a Shoutcast server, and we've got a particular server that's available. You can see it's at this address here. We can also look for things like outdated web servers. So I'm looking for Microsoft IIS 5.0, and you see the server at. I want to find this particular phrase because it's going to indicate something that the server generated with its version number, and there will be an IP address or a host name after the server at piece. And again, we get the Google things, so we can drop those off. And here's an example. It's actually an index page, and there's the server that it's available at. So there's a system running a very old version of Microsoft IIS. You can also look for things like specific web applications and vulnerable data in those web applications. In this case, I'm going to look for information about Joomla, which is a web application, and I'm going to look for an index page with a file listing that says joomla1.txt, index of / right off the bat. Here's a couple of them actually. And you can see this particular file has a lot of information in it, variables, and probably there's a lot of details about maybe passwords and host names on the system. So as you can see, using Google hacking, we can turn up all sorts of information in a very targeted way.